Today we're going to look at the 2017 free response exam, and the question we're going to look at is number 3, phrase. So first of all, I want everybody to go to my course website. I've put a link in the description, and you're going to get 2 files. You're going to get this CSA 2017 PDF that's got the question in it. Then you're going to go over here and pick up question 3, phrase.zip. That has the BlueJ project folder in it. Okay, so once you've got the code and the question, let's go ahead and take a look at it. So here I have question 3, and this involves a phrase class, and you're going to do a couple things. So you're going to write 2 methods from this class, and they already give you a method called find nth occurrence. So we're going to use that in the solution of the other 2 methods. So please go through this question and read through it, make sure you understand it, and I'm going to go ahead and write the code for it. So the first thing we need to do is part A, in which we have to do replace nth occurrence. So given a string, we're given a couple of arguments here. So the first thing we're given is the substring that we need to look for in this other string. So we're looking for at inside this string, a cat ate late. So the 1 indicates that we need to look for the first occurrence. So there it is within cat. And then the next argument specifies the fact that we need to replace the first occurrence of at with this, rain. So, cat ate late, you get a crane ate late. Okay, this should be pretty straightforward, so let's get to the code. I've got right here, I've got my BlueJ project folder, and I've got my code. So this is the phrase.java. I've got this open here. Okay, so we're going to write this replace nth occurrence. So I guess the first thing I need to do is figure out where exactly this string occurs within the bigger, or the string, this thing, current phrase. Okay, so in order to do that, I'm probably going to have to use this find nth occurrence method. So I've provided that for you. That's already been written, so you don't have to worry too much about that. Okay, so let me make a variable. So I'll call it position. And then we're just going to run find nth occurrence. So find nth occurrence. So we're going to give it a string, and then we're just going to give it the end. So we're saying, okay, first occurrence of at, say. Okay, now we need to check and make sure that the string's actually in there. So find nth occurrence. If you read through it carefully, you'll find that if the string's not in there, it returns a -1. So that's something we want to avoid. So let's put a little conditional here, and we say, all right, well, if position is not equal to -1, we can continue. So if it is equal to -1, it just exits, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so what we need to do is split apart this string. So we need to cut it right here. So if we're given at, so that tells us that we need to consider everything up to but not including the at. So that's the first part of the string we want. Then we need to tack on the rain, and then we need to tack on the rest of the string, starting from the index after the t all the way up to the end. So we're essentially splitting the string into 2 pieces, and then inserting this rain into the middle, and then just returning that the rest of it. So we need to figure out how to do that. Okay, let me go ahead and make a variable here. So I'll say string first. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the substring of the current phrase. So that's the phrase that we're given, right? Substring. And what do we want to do? We want to go up to the position, right? So we're going to take a substring starting from index 0 up to but not including position. Okay, so what that is going to do is it's going to start at 0 and go up to, right, and cut it off right there. So I'm going to get A, I'm going to get the space, I'm going to get the C, but it's not going to give me this at. So that's exactly what we want. We want the characters preceding this argument at, but not including it. Okay, so that should do the trick. Now, and this is a little bit more tricky, but I need to figure out the characters that come immediately after that argument. So maybe I'll call it second, and it's a similar thing. So current phrase.substring. Okay, but I need to figure out what to put into substring. So here, I need to consider the characters after the argument at. So the space and then the rest is 8 late. How do I do that? Obviously, you know, I could start at the position here at the A, but that would give me the AT, and I don't want that. What I want is the stuff afterwards. So if you think about it, you know, your position starts here at the A, and then what if I just tacked on the length of this string, so length of at, so that would give me 2, and then I could start my substring there, and that would actually give me the correct number from where to start my substring and then just take it all the way to the end. So essentially what you're doing is, you know, you're taking that position that you just found, and you add on the length of this string, so it's just 2, and then that should give me the correct index of the substring that I need to take to get the rest of this string. Okay, so that's what we're aiming for. So essentially, what we need to do is say, all right, well, position, and then we just add on the length of this string. So it's str.length. Need to make this a little bigger. Okay, so now we've got the 2 pieces. So now all we need to do is put all this stuff together. So we need to replace current phrase. And this is going to be, you know, the first that we found, so the substring. And we tack on the replacement, so REPL, and then we tack on the second string that we found. Okay, so that should do it. And notice that this method returns a void, so it doesn't return anything. So there's no return statement at the end. Okay, so it seems to compile. So let's go ahead and check it. So we go. So cat. Here we go. So crane 8 late. You know, they have some other stuff here. So I'm pretty sure if you go and check it, yeah, crane 8 late, cat 8 late, cat 8 late, and this seems to me that it's seems to work. Okay, so that seems fine. Let's go to the next one, which is part B. So this one's a little bit trickier. We have to find the last occurrence. So given some kind of a sentence like a cat 8 late, obviously there's several occurrences of the letters AT. So we want the index of the last one, right? So there's one here, cat, there's one here in 8, and then late would have the last occurrence of at. So that occurs at index 11. Okay, so now we need to go and figure out how to do that, and I believe the question specifies that we need to use find the nth occurrence in this method as well. Okay, so make sure you pay attention to little details like that. Okay, so I've got it here, find last occurrence. So how am I going to do this? Well, it seems to me that I'm going to have to repeatedly call find nth occurrence and, you know, start at the first one, start at the second one, start, you know, go to the third one, and just, you know, keep getting the position until, you know, finally that returns a -1, at which, you know, there's none left. So I need to get the position just before it returns a -1. All right, so we're going to start our n at 1, you know, because we need to say, all right, look, get me the first occurrence, the second, and the third, etc. Let me make a variable called current. So this is going to store the position of the index at which each of the strings occurs. And now let me make a while loop. So I'm going to say, you know, we keep going as long as that current is not equal to -1, because when it's -1, it just can't find anymore. So while, and then current not equal to -1. So what do? We repeatedly call this find nth occurrence. So I'm just going to say, all right, well, current is going to get find nth occurrence, and I give it, you know, str, and then whatever n is. So, you know, first case it's 1, And then after that, it's 2 and 3, etc. So it'll do that, and then I need to increment n, because after you get the first one, you need the second one, you third. And then, once this is over, I'll just return current. Now, I can see that this is not quite going to work. I think I do see a bit of a problem here. Okay, anyway, let's just go ahead and try it. So, test bench, and yeah, so for this particular question, I'm supposed to get 11, 2, and -1. I get -1, -1, -1. So it's just as I suspected. So what's happening is this. It's finding the position of first occurrence, the second occurrence, the third occurrence. But once we get to the fourth occurrence, this will produce a -1, right? And then it comes around to the while loop and it says, okay, well, is -1 not equal to -1? False. And it exits, but it's returning a -1. It's not returning the position of the next to last index, which is actually what we want, right? The last index would give us a -1. The next to last would give us a position, the last occurrence of the string. Okay, so I'm going to have to store that somewhere. I think I could make another variable. So let's say position, and I'm going to set it to -1 by default. And then, you come down here and say, all right, well, if current is not equal to -1, I store that value into position. So if current is not equal to -1, and I keep storing it, right? So position gets current. So this should be a big improvement because, rather than just returning current, I'll return position, right? And then, so it's going to find the first occurrence, the second occurrence, the third occurrence. That's going to get stored to position because obviously it's not going to be a -1. But when we get to the fourth occurrence, this will return a -1. This will get skipped over, this conditional. So whatever the value was, I think it was 11. That remains in position, right? This gets skipped over. We get an n++, and we go back here and it says a current, -1 not equal to -1, false. And then it exits, and then we return the position of the previous index of where the string was found in that string. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if this works. I do have an error. I forgot to put a semicolon, so that happens sometimes. Okay, so let's run it, and I get 11 to -1. If I compare it to the question, 11 to -1, I believe that is correct. So one last thing, as I do have a JUnit test bench here, so let me go ahead and run the tests. And I see I do get 10 out of 10 tests, so that tells me my code is correct. Okay, so that was question 3 phrase from the 2017 exam. It is complete. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.